Hey everyone, it's VJ32 back again. This is 366 days of cards, and I decided to do another deck review. Double or nothing. Let's try. Find another deck. We'll do this one right here, and the second one. Let's go with that. These are the newest decks from Circle City Cards. They're apparently called the Heraldry, although there is actually no name on them at all, not on the aces, not on the boxes, not anywhere, so it's almost basically the no-name deck as far as I'm concerned. But it's a pretty nice deck nonetheless. So the front of the boxes, you got this nice silver foil logo. It's basically like a coat of arms. Basically, you got a lion on there. Some other details, the leaves, the crown. Just really nice and shiny. And if you look closely, you'll also see that around this, it's actually darker color in the box. Here it's a lighter color. You can see this is darker. This one you get kind of the same thing, and the cards are basically the same as well. On the one side, or on both sides really, it says, on this one it says Azure, and this one's Sanguine. Those are the colors, blue and red. And some nice details, all in silver foil. Like I said, the other side is the same thing. The top says Superior Quality. And then the bottom you got House of Playing Cards and Circle City card logos and trademark stuff. And in the back you see the back design of the cards, which is pretty interesting. And you got the same artwork as on that, on the front of the box. You got the line, and then this over here is what you see here. On the flap, you got a little detail, and then on this one, it says "Live by honor and for glory." On the blue one, it's different. It says strength from the sky. Alright. Inside the box, you do get an ad card. It says designed by Circle City Cards, distributed by the House of Playing Cards, and of course produced by the USPC. All the cards have this, let me just get comfortable here. All the cards do have this grayish color with a darker color in the center, which you can sort of see. Within your back design, it's like this. They do have thin borders, fairly thin, and the borders actually go from white on the edge and it gets darker gray in there, as you can see. And I don't know if you can tell or not. Whatever. You do also get a double backer. It's got, on one side it's got one corner in blue, and then on the other side they're both in blue, so it's kind of a gimmick. One thing I wanted to say is that these cards also have, I don't know if you can see or not, it's a problem. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a swirly type pattern in here. It's not just a, white or gray background on the cards, but the whole thing has a swirly type pattern to it. I can't see it myself. I don't know if you can. On the edges here, on the borders, it has the same pattern. And again, you can sort of see that it does go from a white to a darker color, which is kind of neat. And there's your back design again. court cards look like this basically. These are what the kings look like. They got this artwork on here. This basically looks like there's some wings. You got a symbol with some swords on there and a crown. The red one's identical, except the red. And again, you can see the center is darker than the outer parts of the cards. Jacks, more or less the same, except you got basically axes on there. And then the queens. A little bit different. It's got a crown in there with some other details. I'm gonna have to go back to doing videos the way I used to on my bed because this is uncomfortable. Alright. Anyways, enough of that. Your number cards from number 2 to 10 all have a Roman numeral on the top and bottom. And some custom pips and indices. Again, there's a Roman numeral for you. One thing you'll notice about the pips is that the middle part of the pips is actually darker than the border. You can see the border is lighter. And they also have a saddle in the background, which makes them almost three-dimensional, which is kind of cool. And the black ones do have that as well. But I don't know if you can see them in this light. It does have the same saddling, and you can sort of see that the center is darker than the borders. I think. I could sort of see. But I sort of know what I'm looking for. And you can sort of see the saddling effect as well. Anyway, I gotta leave that at that. But you can see what I'm talking about in the red cards for sure. The middle is darker than the borders. And there is a saddle in there. Here's your Ace of Diamonds. Ace of Hearts. And moving along. Ace of Clubs. Just some artwork. No pips. And the Ace of Spades has Superior Quality on top. Circle City Card Company on the bottom. And it's pretty nice. Jokers look like this. It actually says on there. Oh, my parents are yelling. It says Te Mortuo Heres TB Sim. I'm not sure what that means, but it's obviously Latin. Te Mortuo Heres TB Sim, and I didn't look it up. That's kind of what you got. It's similar to the Aces, except it's got a jester in there. And it says Joker in the two corners. And then one is black. And the other Joker is red. It's kind of what you get. The handle's nice. I think it has a magic finish and an aristocrat stock. I'm not entirely sure. I do like how it handles though. And I'll show you the other one briefly, and then I'll get into a couple more details. This one, a double bagger, has got 2 red and 2 blue on one side, and the other side 3 blue and 1 red. So it's basically the same, but slightly different. Anyways, what I wanted to mention as well is what I think about certain features. The back design I like thin borders, and And obviously the fan's nice, and it's got a pretty nice back for fanning with all the different details. And if you fan it the other way, it's going to look different. But anyways, you can't really see that. So overall for the back design, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5. The faces is where I'm a little bit less happy about it, I guess. I mean, they're nice faces. There's a lot of details in there. And they look good. The Roman numerals is okay. Where I have the problem, though, for one, is the aces. They're hard to distinguish what they are. Like this, if a spectator just looks at it quick or whatever, it's going to be like, okay, what is it? Can you tell me what it is? No, you have to look at the indice to see what it is. It's not like, oh, okay, that's a 6, but what's this? And that's for all the aces, it's like that. There's no pips, so it's hard to distinguish. And the court cards are the same thing. There's no pips, and they're completely unfamiliar to people, especially if they're performing. And you got spectators. So it would be hard for them to distinguish. And on top of that, I'll give you an example here. The 2 black queens were absolutely identical. Most of the time queens are different. The 2 black queens are identical except for the indice. So it makes it really hard to distinguish if you're performing with these. But the artwork is nice. And I'd probably give it for the faces, for the artwork, probably 4 out of 5. As for handling, they handle nice. 4.5 out of 5 for that. Are they usable for Magic? Probably not so much because of how the faces are. They're too hard to distinguish. And on top of that, even though it's got a border, it is effectively borderless. Because if you do this, you can see that there's one card reversed. It's even worse if you go this way because you can see there's one white card in there. So it's effectively a borderless deck. What I would have done personally is I would have made this border the same color as the backs, and then I would have made it darker as it went in, just like he has it, except that there wouldn't be any white. And I also probably would have made the swirly details a little bit more noticeable. So for Magic, not too practical. For cards, for playing cards, probably not too practical because, again, of the fancy court cards and aces. For cardistry, though, that's a thumb up. I think they're probably pretty good for cardistry. Probably meant more for cardistry because they don't have, well, because of the court cards and the aces, they don't need to be distinguishable for cardistry, and they got pretty nice backs for cardistry, and they handle great. So for forcing, they're good. Everything else, not so good. I forgot to do this for the other deck, the Verve deck, but that I reviewed earlier, but it's no big deal. That one is good for everything, I guess. And it looks pretty nice. But anyways, that is the Heraldry deck, or no name deck, as it doesn't say the name anywhere on it. And that's what I got. I apologize if this video is a little bit long, but there's a lot of details to get into with this deck. The next one should be shorter. And with that being said, I'll see you next time.